Do you ever feel like you're speaking, but no one's really listening, like your words are just bouncing off a wall of indifference? Imagine this. What if there was a way, just 3 simple messages, that could not only get their attention but hold it, making you impossible to ignore? Yes, that's right. It's not about speaking louder or being someone you're not. It's about mastering communication in a way that flips the switch in their brains, making them lock onto you. And once you learn these 3 messages, they won't be able to resist. Here's the thing. The world is noisy. We're bombarded with information every second of every day. Most people have learned to tune out the noise as a survival mechanism. They drift through conversations, barely registering what's being said because, let's face it, most of it isn't worth paying attention to. But when you speak, when you use these 3 messages, they won't just hear you. They'll feel compelled to listen. They'll lean in, engaged, because what you're doing is tapping into something primal, something they can't resist. Ready to stop being ignored? Let's dive in. Message number 1. The Disruptor. Ever notice how your brain perks up when something unexpected happens? It's automatic. It's instinctual. We're wired to pay attention to novelty, anything that breaks the usual pattern of experience. This is the key to the first irresistible message, the Disruptor. Most conversations follow a predictable flow, and predictability is the enemy of attention. People tune out because they think they already know where the conversation is going. That's where the Disruptor comes in. The Disruptor is about introducing a twist, something unexpected, something that stops them in their tracks. Think about how most people start conversations. How's your day? Or what's new? Boring? Routine? Instead, hit them with something they haven't heard before. Say something like, "What's the one thing you've done today that truly made you feel alive?" Or, "What's the biggest risk you've taken this week?" These questions throw people off balance, and in that moment of mental recalibration, you have their attention. Why does this work? It's because you're disrupting their autopilot mode. Most people cruise through social interactions without much thought. They're half listening, half waiting for their turn to speak. But when you throw a curveball, you snap them out of that daze. You make them sit up, take notice, and engage. It's like flipping a switch in their brain from passive to active. This doesn't just work in conversations either. It works in presentations, emails, even text messages. The next time you write a message, don't start with, "Hey, how are you?" Try something like, "If today were your last day on Earth, how would you spend it?" Boom! You've just disrupted their train of thought, and now you're the one holding the reins. The beauty of the Disruptor is that it's simple but incredibly effective. It doesn't require you to change who you are or act out of character. It's just about thinking differently. And once you start using it, you'll notice an immediate shift in how people respond to you. Suddenly, you're the one who stands out in the crowd. You're the one they can't ignore. Message number 2. The Mirror. Here's a little secret about human nature. People are obsessed with themselves. It's not vanity. It's just the way we're wired. We're constantly thinking about our own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. So if you want to be irresistible in conversation, all you need to do is reflect those thoughts and feelings back to the person you're speaking with. This is where the mirror message comes into play. Mirroring is all about showing someone that you truly understand them. Not just what they're saying, but what they're feeling. It's about going beyond the surface and tapping into their emotional world. When people feel understood, they feel connected. And when they feel connected, they can't help but engage with you. Let's break it down with an example. Imagine someone is telling you about a tough day at work. Most people would respond with something generic like, "That sounds rough," but that doesn't build connection. Instead, mirror their emotions. Say something like, It sounds like you've been carrying a lot of weight today. That must have been exhausting. Now you're not just acknowledging their words, you're reflecting their emotions. You've made them feel seen. Why is this so powerful? Because most of us go through life feeling misunderstood. We crave validation, empathy, and connection, but we rarely get it. When you mirror someone's feelings, you're offering them something incredibly rare. You're saying, "I see you, I understand you," and in that moment, you become irresistible. But here's the magic. Mirroring doesn't mean agreeing with everything someone says. It's not about being a yes person, it's about acknowledging their emotional truth, even if you have a different perspective. You don't have to agree with someone to validate their feelings. And when you do this, you create a sense of deep rapport that's hard to break. Think of it like this. Everyone has an inner world, a landscape of thoughts, emotions, and experiences that they carry with them. When you mirror someone, you're stepping into that landscape and walking beside them. You're not just another person in their life, you're someone who gets them, and that's a rare gift. Message number 3, the challenger. Now that you've captured their attention with the disruptor and built deep connection with the mirror, it's time for the third and final message, the challenger. Here's the truth. People respect those who challenge them, not in a confrontational way, but in a way that pushes them to think differently, to grow, and to become better. The challenger message is about offering a new perspective, introducing a question or idea that forces them to reconsider what they thought they knew. Think of it like planting a seed in their mind. At first, they might resist it, but over time, that seed grows into something they can't ignore. Let's say you're in a conversation with someone who's venting about a problem. Instead of just nodding along and offering sympathy, throw out a challenge. Ask, have you considered that the real issue might be your approach, not the problem itself? You've just flipped the script. Now, instead of focusing on the problem, they're questioning their approach. You've planted that seed, and now it's going to grow. People love to be challenged because it shows that you believe in their potential. When you challenge someone in a way that's respectful and thoughtful, you're essentially saying, "I see more in you than you see in yourself," and that's irresistible. But here's the key. The challenger message isn't about putting someone on the defensive. It's not about proving them wrong or winning an argument. It's about expanding their perspective. You're offering them a gift, the gift of growth, and people will always be drawn to those who help them grow. The power of all three messages together. So what happens when you combine these three messages, the disruptor, the mirror, and the challenger? You create a communication style that's not only engaging, but unforgettable. You become someone people gravitate toward, not because you're loud or flashy, but because you've mastered the art of connection and influence. Let's put it all together. Imagine you're in a conversation with someone who's feeling stuck in their career. You start with a disruptor. When was the last time you felt truly excited about your work? Boom. You've immediately grabbed their attention. Then you mirror their emotions. It sounds like you've been feeling unfulfilled for a while. That must be tough. Now you've built a connection. Finally, you introduce the challenger. What if the problem isn't the job, but how you're approaching it? What if you're not challenging yourself enough? And just like that, you've shifted the entire conversation. You've made them think differently, feel understood, and see new possibilities. The result? They can't stop thinking about your words. You've left a lasting impression, one that goes beyond the conversation itself. You've become someone they respect, someone they want to listen to. Why? This works every time. Why do these messages work? Because they tap into the core of human psychology. The disruptor triggers curiosity, the mirror creates connection, and the challenger inspires growth. These are three of the most powerful drivers of human behavior, and when you combine them, you become a force to be reckoned with. Think about it. People are naturally drawn to what's new, disruptor. They crave to feel understood, mirror, and they're wired to seek improvement, challenger. When you hit all three of these psychological buttons, you become magnetic. And here's the beauty of it. It doesn't require you to be someone you're not. You don't need to be the loudest, smartest, or most charismatic person in the room. You just need to understand how to communicate in a way that resonates with people on a deeper level. Because once you do, they won't just hear you, they'll feel you. The next time you're in a conversation, whether it's at work, with friends, or even with a stranger, ask yourself, am I disrupting their patterns? Am I mirroring their emotions? Am I challenging them to grow? If you can answer yes to all three, you'll never be ignored again. In fact, people will seek you out. They'll come to you for advice, for conversation, for connection. You'll be the one who stands out, not because you're louder, but because you're smarter about how you communicate. You'll be the one they can't stop thinking about. And that, my friend, is the power of these three messages.